welcome back to the SC-100 course. I hope you are enjoying these videos that I've created for you. In this video, we are going to talk about core identity types in Microsoft Entra ID, as well as we're going to also kind of go into some zero trust with Microsoft Entra and how you can, what areas of the platform you would use in order for you to implement certain security measures. Now, one thing about the SC-100 is, and I don't mean to say this in a bragging way at all, this was probably one of the most easiest Microsoft certifications that I've taken. I've taken quite a bit when it comes to Azure, the Azure AZ-500, I think, the security one. That one wasn't too difficult, but it's definitely more difficult than this one. Then you also have some of the 365 certifications. I think I took the compliance one. That one was a bit tricky just because of the wording. But this one is not one of those certifications where they ask you to be extremely technical. It's more of a, hey, if you needed to do this, which service would you use? And it's really having the background and knowledge of it. But the thing is, what I want to do for you all is I'm doing a mixture. I'm giving you some courses like this one here is going to be more of a talk track, but I am also giving you some technical detail behind it. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about getting the certification, it's just to prepare you so that this way when you go and get the job, that you know exactly what you're doing. So a lot of the videos throughout this course, and that you've seen so far if you've been taking this course, is that a lot of my videos, I do theory, and then I also do a lab. In this case, there's going to be quite a few theory videos coming up over the next talk track. But then we're going to jump into some more labs when we get into Azure policy. So you'll see certain references brought up again, because when it comes to the Microsoft ecosystem, the way they designed it, yeah, there's a lot of services that can be used on their own, but then a lot of services integrate with each other, like how you saw it in the earlier videos where we were showing the Logic app and the Key Vault and also doing managed identities and so on and so forth. So just kind of wanted to talk about that really quickly, let you know exactly what you're seeing throughout this course. And in this video, we're going to dive more into identities when it comes to the Microsoft ecosystem. So we're talking about core identity types in Microsoft Entra. So there are 4 basic core identity types. So there's the users, and these are human users, employees, admins, contractors. And I say human in quotes because you can use it for service accounts too, depending how you're using it. But I wouldn't really recommend. I feel like if you're going to have a user account, have it for a user, or you may even have it for a break glass account. So basically, users are subject to conditional access MFA and can be assigned to groups or roles. Then you have service principals. These are non-human identities created when you register an app or a service in Entra. Think of it like a profile for your app to authenticate and request tokens. They're commonly used for automation, APIs, CI/CD pipelines. So service principals are essentially for authentication purposes. I don't want you to get them confused with managed identities. Managed identities are different. They're more for like service accounts. So our special type of service principal, well, they say service principal here again, but I really like to look at them. And the way I use it in my head is I know service accounts, and I've used service accounts so much because of being on-prem that, in the cloud, I think of it in that same manner. So basically what service managed identities is automatically create and managed by Azure. You'll see these used with resources like virtual machines, app services, and Logic apps. Now, we already went through managed identities, and I was showing you about these system assigned managed identities and the user assigned managed identities as well. But once you read through the Microsoft documentation, sometimes the words can be interchangeable and it can get a little confusing. So, even for myself, who's worked in the cloud for, quite a while, there are times where I have to now tell my brain, okay, just think of these as service accounts. And then you have external users. These users are outside your organization, like partners, vendors, or contractors. So with Microsoft Entra B2B, which that is business to business, they can access your apps and resources using their own credentials, and you can apply the same conditional access and policies to them. Okay, so then there is least privilege access. So that is, you hear that a lot, especially with zero trust, is never trust, always verify. With Entra RBAC, you only give users access they absolutely need, nothing more. For example, a help desk technician might get the password administrator role, but not global admin role. So least privilege is talked about a lot. If you're going for any type of cybersecurity role or any role within IT, you are going to definitely hear about least privilege, because you want to give people just the right amount of access in order for them to do their job. Because what happens is, if somebody's account gets compromised, then guess what? The person who is the hacker will now have access to a lot of different systems. So you want to really confine people in their roles, and there are other ways of doing that. So there's just-in-time access with PIM. So you have privileged identity management. You can make roles eligible, not always active. Users can request access temporarily with approval, MFA, and login. So privileged identity management is a tool within the Microsoft Azure platform. And what that does is you are able to give people access to roles for a certain time frame. So you can say, all right, I am going to give you this contributor right for 2 hours, and then once that's done, then you will no longer have that right. Because as I mentioned earlier, if somebody's account gets compromised and they go in, now they're in a standard account. Now that hacker, if they know what they're doing, there's a good chance they would now have to go about and activate the role and say, okay, let me now activate this role. But the thing is, if you're activating the role, now, depending on how your activation process goes, then you may have a manager or somebody else who is going to approve your activation. Now, imagine if a hacker goes in and takes over your account at 11 o'clock at night, then that's going to be a red flag. So you want to set some guardrails up in place, and these are certain tools, and this is definitely going to be in the test when it comes to PIM and eligibility and all that other good stuff for zero trust and least privilege. Another thing is access reviews and role audits. So you want to be able to review who has access to what. One of the things that people say all the time is yesterday's price isn't today's price. So you can use that same thing when it comes to, technology. Just because you need access today doesn't mean you're going to need access in 3 months. So this is what access reviews do. They will, however you set them up, and we're going to talk about that later and go into deep dive in that. But I definitely wanted to just kind of touch on these different things, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to be showing you, they're going to reference some of the stuff here until we get to a point of actually doing the deep dive into it. So access reviews, you can set them up for monthly, quarterly, or whatever time frame you want to set them up. And basically, you have a governance team that will be able to review that access review and say, okay, does this person still need access? And then cut it off. Now, I've seen where people have access for an extended period of time, and then all of a sudden, you're like, well, they don't need that access anymore. Why do they still have access? Now they're seeing emails and they're seeing all types of stuff that they really shouldn't see. Especially if it's a contractor, you definitely want to make sure you have some access reviews around there. Then also we have conditional access based on role. So you can set up some conditional access policies, and I'll show you how to do that. And you want to make sure you require things like FIDO and compliant devices for global admins. You can create role-sensitive conditional access policy using authentication context, which basically is just a more secure way of locking down and securing your environment. Okay, so that wraps up the video for core identities in Microsoft Entra, and then also ways of implementing zero trust. It's a high overview of these topics. What we're going to do is talk a little bit more about Microsoft Entra Identity Protection, go into the cloud portal, and then now show you exactly how that looks and how you would be able to set up different things within the environment. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like and subscribe button. Here at Cloud Scholars, my goal is to get you from scholar to consultant, and of course, consultant to expert. Thank you, and see you next time.